I think a lot of people are out there saying, how do I reaccelerate my business? And I want to give you credit because Front figured it out. It sounds fantastic. Is there a secret sauce to doing it?
It's hard. I won't lie. One, really focusing on and understanding where customers see value in your platform. So, as I said, we were a much broader productivity and collaboration solution. That's much more of a commoditized offering. If you just think about being an email meets Slack product, right? Where there's real value to having that collaboration between teammates is around external communication. The real value is with obviously customers that you're trying to sell to or retain. And so that shows up in a lot of support use cases. We went from being a company that sort of sold to anybody to being much more focused on our ICP use cases around customer support and customer operations, making sure that we were focused on tailoring our platform, our product, our AI bets to serve those use cases as well. So in many cases, it was a doubling down on where we knew the product was already valued the most. And we were lucky in that we had a lot of customer-facing teams that were already on the platform. And the data that we saw was those teams retained the best and they expanded the best. So it's clear signal that they were our customer base that saw the most value from the platform. And I think building towards customers that see the value, are willing to pay you that value is really the best way to build a big company.
I want to flag something that's beautifully counterintuitive in many ways, because a lot of companies say, oh, we need to reaccelerate revenue. Let's create a product that expands who we speak to, who we sell to. But it's actually the opposite. It's how do you go deeper with the customers who pay you more for more value?
That's something that sometimes folks miss. And I do a lot of work within my team on pricing and packaging. The key thing in pricing and packaging work is really understanding the value that your product brings to customers and what their willingness to pay for it is. And I think that's the gap in knowledge that certainly from the investor side, I've seen most companies have, and really understanding where your product is most valued. And I do think we saw this interesting opportunity to be the surface area for agent and human interaction, and understanding and knowing that customer support and customer operations is one of those areas across the enterprise right now where people are leaning into investing in AI. It was a really natural place for us to also say, hey, we want to grow an AI business. This is a segment of the market that we know is looking to adopt AI right now. We've got good product market fit there already. And we think our product creates a unique opportunity for interaction with AI agents. It sort of all comes together to, I think, maximize the value that our platform's able to generate for the segment of customers.
Meredith, what did you learn going through that pricing and packaging change that you did at Front?
For context for everybody, we about a year ago did a entire overhaul of all of our pricing and packaging. We simultaneously were building a number of AI add-ons and features. And what we really realized was this value gap story, right? So the biggest data point I saw when I first joined Front that led me to understand we needed to reassess pricing and packaging was our tier 2 offering and our tier 3 offering. So sort of our top 2 offerings, net of discounts, we were seeing the exact same per seat price, right? So what it meant is people weren't actually willing to pay us more for our top tier package. They were buying it largely because we allowed more seats in that package, or we had some other offerings that they weren't willing to pay a lot more for, but needed. And so what we really realized we needed to do was create more value in that top tier package. And so there was a lot of work done, sort of understanding our customer base better and really thinking about how we could take some of those AI add-ons that the team was building and pre-package them into that top tier plan to create more value distinction between the two plans. And I think it's just as much about packaging as it is about the number you're willing to charge. That is the piece that most folks actually miss. You have to make sure there's a real value distinction between your packages and make sure that what is in one offering tier versus the next is actually something people are willing to pay more for.
Sorry, sometimes I'm like a dog with a bone, but I got to dig into that because on the podcast all the time, we talk about usage-based pricing, hybrid pricing, SaaS pricing, and a lot of times it does go to the number behind it. Can you say more about the stuff in the package and the importance there?
So look, I think you need to be able to justify to a customer if you've got 2 packages or 3 packages, 4, right? Is it typically, I think, the most that people put up there. You've got to really have distinct pockets of value that distinguish those packages. So a lot of people try to gate between package tiers by limiting number of users or limiting number of workspaces. This is an element that we gate on as well. But to really think about, hey, how am I going to get somebody to pay maybe $40 more for our solution? If I'm a salesperson that needs to sell against this, and I like to put myself in the salesperson's seat quite a bit, how do I communicate that extra value to the end customer that really helps incentivize them to purchase that higher tier package? And I think you really need to assess that. And you need to understand, does the customer think that those things are worth $40 more? So it's not only your perception of whether you think they're worth $40 more, it's does the customer actually think they're worth $40 more? And I think that is something that I don't think enough companies understand as they're thinking about putting together pricing and packaging. You also really need to think about your customer's willingness and ability to pay. And I think this is coming up in a lot of usage-based AI solutions right now in particular, where folks are saying the cost of doing this with AI actually is not necessarily cheaper than it is doing it with a human. For us who is serving customer support teams, understanding what the cost to resolve a ticket is for a customer. And that can vary widely depending upon where those customer support people sit in the world and how much they're paid. So even on the usage-based side, understanding willingness to pay and whether you're creating a savings opportunity and really creating value for the customer is important. And that goes to understanding the fundamental economics on the customer side as well.
Can you say more about the importance of understanding your customer's P&L?
Yeah, I've seen this show up in a couple of roles up front, and certainly my last company, Mantle, as well, where we were selling to banks and credit unions. I think they're really understanding the economics for the bank of what is it worth to acquire a consumer checking customer, consumer savings customer was really important to understanding how much they should be willing to pay from a software cost perspective to acquire those accounts. I think similarly at Front, we serve a variety of different verticals, manufacturing and logistics, businesses that have very different margin profiles, working capital needs than customers that might be in the tech or professional services space. And so I think understanding the needs of those customers is very important in how you're thinking about pricing and packaging, how you think about charging for your product as well, just even beyond vertical size of customer, ability to pay for an upfront annually for an SMB business. The manufacturing space, right, will probably be harder than an SMB customer in the tech space that may have a bunch of venture funding. And so I think really understanding the financial picture for your customers, it extends to your willingness to pay, how much you're able to charge, but it's also something you really need to think about in billing as well. Are customers from a certain vertical more prone to purchasing a monthly billed solution, and they would even pay more for that in many cases? The gold standard within SaaS is annual contracts paid up front. But I think really understanding ability and willingness to pay of customers in different verticals is really important as you think about pricing and packaging.
I remember my friend Ethan, sales leader, brought me a deal once and I looked at it like, dude, we can't sell this for that. And he's like, I know, CJ, this is what you think it is worth, but I'm telling you, this is what they can pay. So do you want to do a deal with them or not? And I was like, he's got a good point there. Remember when pricing was simple? One product, one subscription, one invoice every month. Those days are over. The AI economy is changing how everything gets bought and sold. We're seeing usage-based pricing, hybrid contracts, and something called a credit. The finance systems built for vanilla subscriptions weren't designed for this. This isn't just a RevRec problem anymore, because outdated revenue architecture can kill a great pricing idea before it ever reaches the market. RightRev lets you recognize revenue in whatever shape it comes in. Whether you're launching consumption credits or testing entirely new commercial models, RightRev gives finance the flexibility to support whatever pricing model comes next. So product teams can keep on innovating and finance teams can keep pace. If you're architecting revenue for the AI economy, learn how RightRev can help. Visit rightrev.com/CJ. That's me. That's rightrev.com/CJ.